Hey, welcome to day 2 of austere August. I'm using the same setup as yesterday. It's not going to be my full austere August setup because I got some logistical issues with transportation. I'm going to get to that in a couple days. But yesterday, used my Silvertip Badger from Golden Nib, and it is going to go into some water and soak for just a few minutes while we prep other items. Cella is going to be the soap again. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do the Marco method. We'll learn about it together. I don't think I've done it before. Kind of. We'll talk more about that. There's my Cella. Nice almond, cherry, marzipan type scent. The blade we're going to be using today, this is use number 39 on a feather. Kind of an uncommon blade to go that high for a lot of people, and even for me when I was an early shaver, I stayed away from the feather for good reason. I just got more cuts from feather, and several months later apparently my technique improved and I was fine. So sometimes you don't need to be afraid of feather. And yesterday's razor was the Karve Christopher Bradley with a C base plate in open comb configuration. And so I'm going to pause and rinse my face and we'll get everything ready. I did just take a shower, so that is kind of my prep for today's shave. I usually don't. The Marco method is going to be taking the soap and we're going to be bringing the brush to it with a brush full of water. And that's in essence the method. You're putting a lot of water into the mix right away. And so it's going to get runny. Some people say that it uses up a lot of soap. It probably does. So the method I usually use is more conservative because not as much soap goes off the jar and down the drain. And so we're basically going to mix it up slowly at first. Because we're just going to use only the tips, and we'll see how it goes. And gradually the water that's in the brush starts mixing and conditioning the soap that's in the tub, and it will change from a bubbly something in the beginning to something that more resembles lather after 120 swirls is what the Marco method instructions say. All right, so let me get that ready. All right, we'll talk about it more as we go. Now, here's the secret. We've got the brush in water. Well, not the secret, but one of the aspects, one of the crucial, that's what I meant to say, crucial, was pull it up out of the water and only let fall what falls. Don't do any shaking, anything like that. Keep it very wet. Some people think when you get used to doing this, the guys have been saying that it is a fast way to get to a good lather. I'm not going to claim that today. I'm just starting with it. So it is what it is. All right, so it has been dripping a little bit here as I've been talking. This is a dry puck as of yesterday, from yesterday's shave. So I'm just going to put it in. They say no pressure, and I'm just going to start swirling. And Marco was a guy apparently that came up with this. I think he's on the badgerandblade.com forums. And I'm going to start counting swirls. I've probably done about 20 at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Still a lot of water left in the bowl here. Okay, so that's 120. And I can tell I'm digging into the soap a lot more than usual. So my brush probably has the necessary lather on it. But let's, I've still got lots of water here. I'm going to pour that out because my brush still has. And so what I'm going to do, you know, one guy mentioned about 100, 120 swirls. What I'm going to switch it to is another set of instructions where you watch the condition of the soap. Right now, very airy, very bubbly. And so you watch for the soap to change into something that stops resembling the airy bubbly and starts looking like an actual lather. It's not really doing it so far, and I believe I've probably gone through another 100, you know, circles here. So it's possible that this soap just doesn't, this much water is just too much for it, you know. Maybe this brush just holds away too much. But the water is leaving as we speak here. I mean, that's just a lot of grinding. Maybe I'll look forward to trying Marco again when we're dealing with the chiseled face midnight stag, which is what I'm going to use for August. Okay, now it is starting to change a little bit. It's dripping so much I'm afraid to hold it too close to the camera. Minimalisto, I believe, is the username of a YouTube guy who did 3 different ways to lather Stirling soap, and one of those is the Marco method. And so I suggest, if you're interested in this, check out his video. It was also touted by some other folks. Okay, good. See, look, the stuff that's kind of coming out is starting to be more white. I feel like I have just stirred up so much soap. I think I can see the level of the soap going down. I'm just going to stop with it right here and rinse off my puck. Now you can, from what I could tell, you could Marco method, go right to your face, or you could go to a bowl. I think generally people just go right to the face. Why don't we try that? See what happens. And so basically we are combining, taking that soap that we stirred up, and we're now making sure that it's combining with the rest of the water that's in the brush. Now this soap particularly stayed kind of a slurry for a lot of stirs. Now it looks really good on the face here. And so it's possible that with all the stirring that I did, I should have quit a little sooner. I mean, I've definitely got something nice and rich on my face here. I'm going to have to whip out my little syringe to be able to add water. So basically doing a face lather, and that's all right. You got to learn these different kind of things. And I was able to achieve a nice, see how opaque and white this lather looks? Well, that's because it's too dry. You know, I spent the other shave yesterday exploring about the dryness of Cella, because we want to make sure we don't shave with it when it's too dry. Definitely feels creamy on my face, but you see all these pock marks on my neck that whenever I do stripes like this, you see kind of bumps and build up, and it's not, that's just a sign that it's still too wet. So we just got tons of lather here, and unfortunately, only one face. Let me take off some excess and put it in my bowl. This is kind of why I don't like face lathering. I got all this that's going to be wasted unless you bring in a bowl. And if you bring in a bowl, then why not use a bowl to start with? But you know what? We're not going to get down on it because I'm not good at it yet. There we go. So it looks like I just lathered for way too long. With this particular soap, it doesn't look like it switches to that nice solid slurry with all that water. See, and this is really kind of taking up more time. If I had done my usual, I would be done mixing my lather by now. And I believe I used up several passes of soap. You know what? Let's make a point. Okay, I'm gonna leave this guy right here. I've already put in three halves of water, teaspoons, and so that's 1.5 teaspoon. I'm gonna take a whole face worth of lather, put it in my bowl. And then I'll bet I've got enough lather in here to easily keep going. Still needs more water. In my opinion, Stirling is definitely a better soap than, Cella. Just got a slicker feel. They're both tallow soaps. Yeah, see, I've easily got plenty in this brush. Marco is messier. Pretty much everybody kind of agrees on that. Okay, I don't want you to have to watch this. This is taking a while. So I'm going to keep on doing, I'm going to pause you. I'm basically, all I'm doing is adding water. What I may do is switch and dip my brush in some water just to kind of get a little faster. And then I'll bring you back when I've established a shaveable lather that's not too dry. See all this? It's all from that brush after I took everything off my face. And I'm going to do it again. So maybe this will be filed under the Marco method, what not to do, right? We're learning together. All right, so now we've got what's left here, and then the remnants on my face. I'm going to keep adding water, and I'll be back. All right, finally, I'm at the lather that is no longer all blotchy with thickness and dryness. It feels creamy on my face. It feels really slick, and we're good. And I only had to peel this much lather off my face and dump a whole bunch of water into my brush. He's good. He's probably got enough for the second pass right here. Smells good though. Smells like Cella. I like it. All right. I was so crazy with Marco and the new method, I didn't even put my feather blade in the razor. There's the X. I like to hold it up and away from my hands while I saw somebody pulling the razor out of their blade, pulling the blade out of their, off their head. And they basically grabbed it on the edge part. Now they didn't get cut, but these edges, from what I've been told, and I believe it's true, are just so fragile that if you want them to last a while, like I do, then you shouldn't be touching the edges. And that's why I enjoy razors that have exposed end tabs, so I can manipulate the blade. All right. Normal from north to south. Pass here. I should have a very compliant face because of all, now I'm trimming my sideburns a little bit here this time. That's why I'm spending more time with that. They got a little bit too long. Okay. 39th use of this blade. Very light, always keeping it light and loose so that my razor just glides over contours of my skin. I'm not pressing into the skin to generate irritation or anything like that. Very nice, a little scrapey sounding, kind of not typical for this razor, but comfortable, not irritating. All right, I still have a lot of soapy slickness on my skin here. It definitely was not a full rinse. And let's go back, put on the next layer. We can go and fish some out from the bowl. Don't have to do the scrubby circles if we don't want to, just unless we want to kind of evaluate the feel of the brush maybe. And yeah, and see that the lather that's in that bowl is too concentrated. It's too dry. Oops. See, my handle is slippery. Gotta watch out. Okay, that should be good. Now this knot definitely has some lower backbone on the spectrum. Maybe I'd say 3 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10. And so when I was scrubbing and I looked down, I was able to see the hole. And I did see some hairs kind of twisted around in there. So that's a sign to me that I'm going to need to make sure I whip out a comb at the end of the shave. Make sure we comb those hairs out. We don't want to get in any knots. All right. The more backbone, the razors with more backbone, you know, aren't going to tie up and have the potential to tie up in knots like that. Feels good. Not smooth. I do have some blade feel, but it is, it's not irritating. It's enjoyable. I do feel like if I went the wrong direction, that I could definitely give myself some razor burn or a cut if I, got some wrinkles in my face where I shouldn't. I feel like it could do that. All right, very good second pass, nice and quick. Lots of glide, guys. That's one thing the Marco method brings you when it oversaturates your skin with the soap. Lots of glide. All right, I dried my face off a little bit. Wanted to get the water out of my goatee. I still am not getting full rinses. It's taken so long because there's just so much soap on my face because I've just used so much up. So let's paint on the third pass. So where did I go wrong in the Marco method? Definitely user error in my part, I believe. I should have, turns out, and this was just ignorance, with this particular soap, it doesn't turn into that nice opaque kind of pre-lather like Stirling did in the video and stuff. So this one looks more like I should do a little bit of counting, perhaps. Like maybe I should have stopped at 100 or 120 and then, moved on. And so, because I went too far, maybe 3 times too far, then I had 3 times too much soap compared to the water that was in the brush, which is why I've had to add all this water. Okay, so maybe tomorrow we'll try the same thing again. Just do it with 100 turns, and then maybe the water that's left in the brush will be about right for the water that is now on the tips of the brush because of the Marco method. So that's what we'll try tomorrow. All right, lather feels good. You see how I use the end here, not for gripping, but just for balance. I'm not saying you have to do that, but a balanced grip like that does just let me kind of skim over surface of the skin really lightly. Watching Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, I believe is the name of that one today. I was so happy when those things came out that Jar Jar Binks and the bad acting of Anakin didn't really bother me. But rewatching it, it's annoying. All right, so that's 3 passes. It might take me forever to rinse all this soap off, and that can have a drying effect. So that's not good. Got to get all the soap off in general. All right, that's what I'm going to do now is rinse. Well, I got a really good cut today right here. Excellent closeness. I don't see any tips, any length on the tips. I do see a few of the actual dots, that say that it's been cut flush. And some of them have been cut even a little deeper than that where I don't even really see the dot in the first place. So excellent, excellent cut today. My skin feels super clean. It's squeaky clean. And so let's bring in a balm, same one as yesterday, Stirling Tuscany. think it's violet and bergamot, along with some spices and seasonings and whatnot. I like it. It's kind of become my one of my go-tos. Just kind of, if I don't really feel like something in particular, then I just enjoy this one. Stirling, I like their balm. I have oily skin, so I don't need a high-duty one. I don't need a super big performance, but I think it works really well anyway. All right, there we go. Really happy with the closeness. I do feel a little tenderness with my skin because probably of just all the soap. A lot more soap than usual, and so I think it dried me out more than I'm usually used to. And so then I'm very glad for the balm to come back in and heal everything, help it out. All right, so wow, I probably used about 6 shaves worth of soap in today's shave. But there we go. You know what? We're just experimenting. We're playing around, trying stuff. So apparently part of the Marco method is to look for kind of that slurry, that thin stuff, the thin airy stuff, to turn into something opaque and more lather looking. Okay, that's one way you can go apparently. And that didn't work with this soap. Another way you can go from the documentation I read was to do a count of the swirls, something like that. So that's what I'll do next time. And we'll see if we get better results, a little bit less soap used, less harshness on my face, that sort of thing. Oh yeah, that balm is still around. It wasn't absorbed, so it's going to be working and healing, moisturizing, all that good stuff. And I still have a ton of lather left, and this is concentrated stuff. This is probably 2 shaves worth of lather right here. I don't mean passes. I mean, it's probably six passes of lather right here because it's so concentrated. So we learned something. Data is beautiful. We learned something. All right, so I'm going to clean up. All right. I cleaned the brush out, shook it out in the sink to remove the excess water, then stropped it up and down on a towel to further remove some more water. Now we're just going to gently start around and make sure we eventually get into the middle. And it may not be necessary, but I just want to make sure that we don't get a knot built up in there. And there may be better combs for that, with maybe thinner tines or something like that, but there we go, all good. The balm is doing a great job of relieving that slight rawness. I believe, like I said, it should be attributed to just an excessive amount of soap. Also, brush burn. This is a really soft brush, but I had to do a whole lot of brushing to mix in more water to try to fix everything. And so it's possible that could have aggravated my skin just a little bit too. But as I said, it is being rejuvenated right now. Feels great thanks to the balm. And I got a great cut out of it. So we're good. And I believe that's it. So I learned something about Marco. And if you go past maybe 150 stirs or something like that, maybe it's time to quit. Maybe you count, maybe you don't. But keep an eyeball, don't go too far, or it might be better just to rinse your brush out and start over instead of having to deal with all that lather that I did. So we'll do a count next time with Cella. I think it could be a really good method. And another variation is to just go, once you're done with the loading, go right to the bowl. Start mixing up your lather. And the idea is you may not even have to add any more water than what was already what you started with in your brush. Maybe you add a little bit more, like one time, is what the guy was saying. But in general, you shouldn't have to add too much water since you're starting with so much. And they did say that the count could vary depending on the size of the brush and all those factors. So, we'll fine tune it, and we'll see how different it might be with the chiseled face. So this will be a good comparison. We'll see if the chiseled face develops that opaque slurry, or if it kind of does like the Cella. All right, well, I am good. My face feels good now, finally, and I got a great shave. So hey, hope there was something here for you. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.